going through color to give stuff, so I talked to Amy a little bit more about the grading.
Yeah.
I was gonna look at it. There's like some other stuff that some of the advanced part of that we may be able to use. So I was gonna maybe have it. I don't know if Project Self-Sufficiency uses that as
I think they do.
and see. Well, I know they do Colorado Kids, but the whole program. Because we have like the essential. So I was gonna see what they use and talk to them. See if it's worth more of the advanced, because I think they were transferring a lot over to it.
And I think there was a small cost, but see if it's cost, effective for us.
Yeah, if it'd be worth it or
Yeah.
not.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
That's what I just think that you have the ability to sort of go through
Okay, we've got just a few more people logging in, so I'll wait just another minute or two before we get started. Thanks for joining us this morning. Okay, well, while people continue to log in, we'll get started. Introduce myself, Joe Rowan. I am with the Fort Collins Area Chamber of Commerce. We're the facilitator for the NoCo Housing Now education series that we do uh, 4 times a year. We have presentations that try to cover issues relative to housing across our Northern Colorado region and how we can learn from each other to address an issue that has been longstanding and one that again we haven't really found the magic formula yet, but we're working on it. But at any rate, glad you could all join us this morning. We are very pleased to have a slate of experts in the area of homelessness and how we address that issue across our region. And before I get started on that, I'm just going to, first of all, thank our sponsors that help put this together. So Alliance Construction, Brownstein, EPS Group, or UC Health, I should say, New Colony, and Somerset Apartments. And with us today, we've got Alea Rodriguez and a host of, again, experts in this field, and you'll be hearing from all of them in just a moment. What we do is just a matter of production. They will I'll introduce and they'll have a presentation that they'll share with us. And in the interim, if you have questions, you want to clarify something that you hear, I'll just ask that you use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Hopefully everybody is well adept at that. But just at the bottom of your screen, reactions, raise hand. And that way I can keep track of who is in the queue and the order that I will call on you. And I believe our presenters will accept any questions or clarifications as they go through the presentation. But once they're done, we'll have some additional opportunity for you to, again, delve further into this issue. So with that, I'm going to welcome Alea Rodriguez. She is the housing director for Larimer County. And Alea, I'm going to ask you to introduce those folks that are going to be presenting today. And then I should also point out at the end, you will see contact information for everybody. And so this information will be sent out to everybody who's registered. So you'll have another opportunity to reach out to these folks to engage them in further conversation. So with that, Alea, welcome. And please introduce our panelists and we'll get started.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Hello, everyone. As Joe said, my name is Alea Rodriguez. I'm the Housing Stability Manager at Larimer County. I also currently serve as the chair of the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. I'm very happy to be here. Joining me today is Christine Kopnick, who is our Assistant Director of Systems Improvements for the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. Rachel Kirkland, who is our HMIS System Administrator for the NoCo COC. Mandy Shreve, who is the Director of Homelessness Solutions with the City of Greeley and also serves as the Secretary of our COC board. And then Sue Beck-Furcus, who is the Social Policy and Housing Programs Manager with the City of Fort Collins. So they will all be speaking today, and I'm going to kick us off and we'll introduce them as they come up to speak. I might contradict Joe a teeny bit here and say maybe hold the questions to the end. We have a lot of content to kind of get through, but if something comes up and you want to ask it right away so you don't forget, please put it in the chat and then we'll be able to address it after the speakers get through their information. The COCs in general, it's just kind of confusing content if you're not familiar with it. So we want to make sure we get through the basics first, and maybe we're going to answer your question as we go too. So feel free to put any and all questions you have or clarifications in the chat, and we will absolutely get to them. But want to make sure that the program is able to get through everything. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and get the presentation going. So just give me a moment as I figure that out. Share. Present. Okay. Joe, can I get a thumbs up? Can you see my screen? All
We're
right.
good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So as I said, we're going to be walking through an overview of the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care, also known as NoCo COC. So if you hear that, we're talking about the same thing, and our efforts to end homelessness across Larimer and Weld County. The mission of the COC is, experiencing homelessness is traumatic, not just for individuals and families, but also for our community. And our mission is to work together across the two counties to make homelessness rare, short-lived, and non-recurring, so all our neighbors have the opportunity to thrive. So what is a COC? Or a continuum of care, also known as a COC, is a regional planning body established by HUD, or Housing and Urban Development. It's not a single organization. We're not a nonprofit. It's more like a collaborative body. We're a regional planning body, or maybe a coalition might be a better way to describe what we are. It has cross-sector representation because it takes participation across all of our sectors to be successful in this work. The role of a COC, as defined by HUD, is to coordinate the community-wide response to homelessness and ensure that services and resources and funding are all aligned. In the state of Colorado, there are 4 COCs, as you can see on the bottom of that slide. There's the Denver Metro Homeless Initiative, which covers the Denver metro area, the Pikes Peak, which covers El Paso County, so Colorado Springs area, and then the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care, which is our COC, which covers Larimer and Weld County. Every other area in the state falls under what's called the balance of state, serving up to 54 counties across our state in their homelessness response. Originally, our region was part of that balance of state alongside those other counties. But in 2022, there was recognition in our community that we needed more local control and customized solutions. So a group came together and petitioned to HUD to form their own COC. And they officially became the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care in January of 2020, which wasn't the best time to break away and start this work, but it was the time that it happened. And so since then, they've been working hard to really do that, to form those community-driven responses of what we need locally in Larimer and Weld County, instead of being part of that larger group. This is a good image to just kind of show you that governance structure, because it can be a little confusing since we aren't an organization. We're a coalition and a collaboration across sectors. Most org charts that you see are hierarchical, but ours is not, because it takes a variety of expertise and perspectives to sustain this work. And each part of this structure you can see feeds into each other. The board sets the strategic direction, but the board is made up of members of the COC. And that strategic direction is informed by the work being done by our committees and through our lead agencies and through perspectives of our membership as well. So it all feeds into each other to make sure that we are creating that local response to meet the needs of our community. Collective impact is a framework for solving complex problems through structured collaboration across sectors, which is exactly what a COC is. We know that homelessness doesn't follow jurisdictional boundaries, and neither can our solutions. So through the COC, we bring together local governments, service providers, landlords, healthcare systems, funders, and community members with lived experience. Together, all of those members, we share data, we coordinate strategy, and align funding services with the mission, again, to make sure that homelessness is rare, non-recurring, and short-lived across Northern Colorado. Through this cross-sector collaboration, that's what allows us to make real progress for the individuals that we serve and for the system as a whole. So you can see our conditions for collective impact on this slide here. This is our mission that I've already talked about, that ending homelessness. We reach that mission by using a shared data system called Homelessness Management Information System, or HMIS, and Rachel's going to dive into that a little bit later. I'm just trying to set some foundations here. Our support agencies, so since we aren't an organization, we are not a nonprofit, we need support agencies to do the administrative work and the work on the ground for the COC. Our current support agencies, or lead agencies, you might hear us say, are United Way of Weld County and Homeward Alliance. So they hire the staff that do this work that we'll be introducing later on, and lead the on-the-ground work. The activities that all of this work is going towards is, every member of the COC works in those work groups that we have, and believes in housing first, which we're going to get into here in a moment, and elevates our coordinated housing placement system, or CAPS, which you can see under those mutually reinforced activities. Again, if these are new terms to any of you, we're going to dive into those deeper. I'm just setting some very basic baselines. These are the core objectives of a COC, or our buckets of impact that we're focusing in on. We do have to ensure HUD compliance, since we are a HUD established agency, or not agency, collective. And then we're also working, obviously, to increase access to affordable and safe housing and make sure that that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring. We do this through data transparency, equitable prioritization, continuous improvement, and our strong collaborative partnerships. Ultimately, the CSC is working to build a responsive and flexible system that works across communities and sectors to meet the urgent needs of our region. So now that we have that foundation in place, I'm going to pass it over to Christine, who's again, the Assistant Director of System Improvement for the NoCo COC. And she's going to take a deeper dive into the philosophies and best practices that guide this work, such as Housing First and Built for Zero, and how these approaches shape our system. Go ahead, Christine.
Thanks, Alea. As Alea said, so an essential objective of a continuum of care is to align strategic practices across the region. For us, that's Larimer and Weld County. And we really look to evidence-based best practices, which includes Housing First, or support-centered housing. And this practice really informs service delivery. It prioritizes providing permanent housing to people experiencing homelessness. The idea behind it is that this housing should be low barrier, so there should not be significant requirements to entry. It recognizes client choice and autonomy in decision-making, so nothing is required again. Supportive services are offered. This is really key. It's housing first, it's not housing only. As we said in that title, support-centered housing. We will provide supportive services, but they will not be mandated, again, to respect client choice and autonomy in decision-making. And then service delivery should be responsive and flexible in nature. That's another kind of highlight of Housing First best practices. And why we continue to uphold this evidence-based best practice in our region is because the data shows it works, and it works well. It is very cost-effective. It provides quicker access to housing because we prioritize low barrier. Again, not a lot of requirements to get into this housing. And then also supportive services that are offered, the data shows they are utilized, even though they are not required. People will opt into using them. There's rapport that is built through this service delivery, and that makes it more likely that individuals may engage in these services. And then, of course, what we are all looking to do in this work, as Alea said, we want to end homelessness in our region. So the data shows here with Housing First that there are high retention rates. So individuals that enter into housing will stay housed through this service delivery model. And pass to the next slide. Thank you. So how we assign kind of support effective housing places in the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care is through our Coordinated Assessment and Housing Placement System, CAPS for short. This process is really a way for communities to match people experiencing homelessness with housing and services that best fit their needs. We use a shared collaborative and collective process and a priority list to make these housing decisions. And this process really exists because we are dealing with scarce supply versus the need that we are seeing across Larimer and Weld counties. I like to break the CAP system into kind of 4 main stages. So the first one is really identifying individuals who are experiencing homelessness, assessing them with a standard assessment tool to understand their housing needs and barriers and their overall vulnerability. And then when housing resources are available, we come together as a collective to case conference these individuals and match them to resource that best fits their needs. But again, looking at kind of who needs it at that moment in time. So this is not kind of a first come, first serve basis process. We're really dynamic in how we are selecting these individuals. And then again, once an individual or family who is experiencing homelessness is matched to a resource, there is a collective case conferencing process to help them navigate to lease up and move in. Move to the next slide, please. The Northern Colorado Continuum of Care, the Northern Colorado region has been a Built for Zero community since 2019. This is a national movement and methodology that really emphasizes using data-driven strategies to create effective, efficient, and equitable homeless response systems. There's a concept that they highlight. It's functional zero. They provide technical assistance to help communities get to this milestone where basically the data is indicating that fewer people are experiencing homelessness than are routinely exiting to homelessness. And so when you have such low numbers of individuals experiencing homelessness, lower than who you can house, you have basically created a system that can quickly respond to homelessness. And so these episodes are rare and short-lived, which again is our mission as a COC. Really, Built for Zero recommends that any community striving towards functional zero starts small. So we have done that in our region with the veteran subpopulation that is experiencing homelessness. Our coordinated assessment housing placement system has actually existed in Northern Colorado since 2016, and it started with the veteran population. And so we had a lot of data partners coming together to create this process of how we assign resources and respond to the need. And so that's again why we've started with the veteran population. We want to start small, implement system shifts, learn and adapt what is working well, what is not, where do we need to shift once again, and then we can scale up that process. So we are focusing on the veteran population right now, but we are taking these lessons learned and we will apply them to the next subpopulation. And then the idea is that we just continue to scale this up until we are reaching functional zero for all people experiencing homelessness in our region. Next slide, please. Did want to provide you all with some data on our progress towards functional zero for the veteran population. So this chart shows a total active homeless number of veterans at the end of each month since March 2024 until April of this year. As you can see, kind of that springtime in 2024, we are hovering around about 66, 68 total active veterans, and we have reduced that number to 51 as of the end of April. And again, that's really been because of a lot of system shifts that we have implemented over time with our veteran partners, our mainstream service providers, all coming together, really looking at the data. We have a relatively small population of veterans experiencing homelessness, and so we can really understand their unique needs, service needs. For instance, we are seeing a population of older adult veterans who are experiencing homelessness for the first time. And so how can we respond, tailor our service delivery to meet those needs? And so we are continuing to work on reaching functional zero for a veteran population. And that's where we are right now. And with that, I will pass it along to my colleague, Rachel Kirkland, the HMIS System Administrator, to provide more detailed information on our data collection efforts.
Christine. So now we're going to dive into homeless management information system. So what is HMIS? This is a federally mandated data collection process. It captures client level data, so information like their demographics, disabling conditions, history of homelessness. It captures services and housing provided to people at risk of or experiencing homelessness. So the providers across the COCs who serve people experiencing homelessness are consistently entering data into the system. And Alea mentioned this earlier, but Northern Colorado is part of a statewide implementation of HMIS, where all 4 COCs are entering into one instance of HMIS, which allows us to do statewide analysis. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at some aggregate data from the Homelessness Management Information System. What you see here is a screenshot from a dashboard featured in the Colorado State of Homelessness Report, which was just released this past April. I'm doing a plug here, honestly. This was the first statewide report developed collaboratively by all 4 COCs in Colorado. And we're happy to share a full link to the report for anyone interested in exploring it further. But the reason I'm showing you this is to help ground the conversation in real data. This demonstrates that we do know who is experiencing homelessness in our communities, and we have the infrastructure in place to tailor services and interventions to their needs. So this helps ensure that solutions are not based on assumptions, but are informed by evidence and lived experience. Next slide. And this is just another snapshot. So we wanted to share a little bit more of up-to-date data. So this is individuals served in Q1 of 2025 in the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. Next slide. This is a snapshot of our system flow, which illustrates somewhat of an imbalance between the number of people entering the homelessness response system and the housing resources available to support them. Homelessness is not a one-time crisis. It's a recurring and ongoing reality, meaning people will continue to experience homelessness due to a range of systemic and individual factors. And this chart makes it clear that our system is currently not equipped to meet the full scale of demand. Each month, the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care serves approximately 1,900 people. About 100 people are achieving housing outcomes through housing programs in the COC. But it's important to note that not all people who are served require housing intervention, such as a voucher or ongoing rental assistance. Many individuals resolve their homelessness with light touch services like diversion, connection to employment, or temporary shelter. And in fact, that's the majority of the people that we'll see here in the 1,900 number on average. Reflecting back to the demographics chart, if you were looking at that closer, I know it was kind of small, but about 33% of the people in 2024 were experiencing chronic homelessness, indicating a good portion of the population needs longer-term housing and supportive services to stabilize. This highlights the need for both scalable early interventions and sustained support for those with more complex barriers. Next slide, please. So one of the most important ways we build trust in our homeless response system is by demonstrating that it works, that people are not only being served, but are also successfully exiting homelessness. By focusing on housing outcomes, we aim to reinforce stakeholder confidence in our COC's ability to make measurable progress. This chart highlights the number of agencies in our community that have provided housing resources over the past 3 fiscal years. And I've chosen to show a 3-year span to reflect consistency and sustained effort of our system. This isn't a one-time initiative. We have a strong foundation of collaboration, and we've been steadily building and delivering housing outcomes for quite some time now. These programs include rapid rehousing, which offers time-limited rental assistance and case management for up to 2 years, and permanent supportive housing, which provides long-term or indefinite rental assistance through a housing voucher, paired with ongoing case management for individuals with higher service needs. So a total of 14 agencies across both Larimer and Weld County are represented here, underscoring the importance of collaboration and broad participation in the COC to effectively address homelessness in our community. Next slide. To dive a little bit deeper into housing outcomes, over the past 3 years, 542 individuals exited from either rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing. And of those, 77% of individuals were housed at the time of exit. This suggests that many of those individuals either no longer needed the housing's ongoing support of their program, likely in a lot of cases rapid rehousing, or transitioned to another stable housing arrangement. For the remaining 23% who were not housed at exit, there's a range of possible reasons. Some could include that the individual passed away while they were in housing. Others may have needed a different type of housing intervention to succeed or may have relocated out of the community. Next slide, please. Now looking at housing retention, a key indicator of long-term program success. This is over a 3-year period, which is we went a little bit further back than the time frame that we were looking at for the previous slides, just because when looking at housing retention, you have to look further back to see who re-entered the system in the future. 322 individuals exited from a housing program. Of those, only 24 returned to the system within 6 months, and only 44 returned within 1 year. So this reflects a 6-month housing retention rate of 93% and a 1-year retention rate of 86%. These outcomes are either meeting or exceeding national benchmarks, demonstrating that our local housing programs are not only helping people exit homelessness, but are also supporting lasting housing stability. High housing retention rate means that the support provided, whether it was financial assistance, case management, or a housing voucher, is effective in helping people remain housed after program exit. This is one of the most meaningful outcomes we can achieve because it reduces repeat homelessness, improves individual well-being, and lowers overall system costs. And now I'm going to pass it, I believe, over to my colleague Mandy from the city of Greeley.
Wait, sorry. I think there's a new Larimer slide. So we just switched it up a little bit. So let me do that one and then I'll pass it to
Okay,
Mandy.
sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It was a last minute change. Yeah. So, now that we've looked at the data, we're just going to shift our focus into what happens on the ground and specifically how our local governments play into this regional response. The continuum of care provides that shared structure for strategy, and our local jurisdictions feed into the heart of that system. Some jurisdictions lead with direct service programming and fund housing navigation. Others focus on land use, shelter strategy, or policy alignment. Some jurisdictions bring critical funding to the table, while others facilitate partnerships or outreach. There's no one-size-fits-all model, and that's okay. What matters is that each jurisdiction keeps showing up and shares the responsibility and aligns the role to the bigger picture. And that is one of the focuses of the COC, is to provide that alignment for our jurisdictions. All of these roles are essential, and the kind of leadership is what makes this collective impact possible. So I'm just going to start off by taking a closer look of how Larimer County participates in this system, and then we'll hear from City of Greeley and from City of Fort Collins as well. So Larimer County's taken a system-level leadership approach, helping to bridge efforts across cities and service providers and regional planning. A few key examples is the supporting of the development of a strategic plan to address homelessness across the county. This is a project led by Homeward Alliance that we are partnering and supporting. The project brings together municipal governments, brings together Fort Collins, City of Loveland, Town of Estes Park, and service providers and people with lived experience to align our strategies and to assess system gaps. We're just wrapping up phase 1 of this project, which is a thorough assessment of our current system to then identify gaps and eventually get strategy recommendations from the hired consultant who is JG Research and Evaluation, who's been leading this project since last year. Another example of how Larimer County participates in this system is that we actively participate in the housing placement system through our landlord engagement program, which is also called Housing Partners of Larimer. In this program, we provide education to landlords. We provide direct support and incentives to property owners as well to encourage them to participate in our community-driven solution to the affordable housing unit shortage that we're experiencing. And this opens the door to private units for people identified on that CAPS list, and we partner directly with COC and the CAPS team to help fill these units. So with that, I will now introduce Mandy, Director of Homeless Solutions for City of Greeley, who will share Greeley's participation in the COC system and what they are up to. Take it away, Mandy.
Thanks, Leah. So you have the COC leading the homeless response, right, at the regional level. And then what I would say is that each community has its own unique homeless response system to that community. And when I talk about homeless response system, it's really just when someone is coming into homelessness, how do they then get into the system to access care to hopefully exit back out of homelessness? And right now, the city of Greeley has programming that makes up varying components of our homeless response system. And it's very much in collaboration with our community service providers, where we all have a unique role in the areas that we are playing to take care of our unhoused community. And we currently have an outreach team, and that's really where the work starts. We have staff that are out in the field. They are identifying our unhoused community members, and their main goal is to establish rapport. They want to get them into HMIS, the Homeless Management Information System. They will do an assessment on those individuals so that they can be placed on what we would call, it's called by name list, but also our housing priority list. Once on that list, they can then be matched to housing resources as they become available. And then the team also they do a lot of stuff, but the one component of the work that they do is they also try to get individuals what we call doc ready, which is getting their ID, social security card. It's really important because when the housing opportunities become available, they're going to need that so that they can be put on a lease, and it just helps speed up the process for them. The other component of the programming that we have really focuses on exit interventions, exits out of homelessness. We get individuals referred to us from the coordinated entry system that Christine was kind of talking through. We have programming for rapid rehousing. This is an intervention that is really geared towards individuals, the inflow coming into the community. It's for individuals with low to moderate needs. It's a really good intervention for families. Typically, these individuals just need possibly 6 months to a year of assistance so that they can save money, they can find employment again. Maybe they need to get their kids enrolled in school so that they can get back on their feet and self-sustain again. The permanent supportive housing intervention that we have is important because that's the long-term stayers in our community, the people that have been homeless the longest. There's typically a chronic disabling condition that is keeping them from gaining employment. And the key to this housing is intensive case management. It's the wraparound services that were mentioned. And so we get vouchers from the state. So they're paying for the rent, but we're funding the case management team that provides the supportive services. And when I talk about intensive case management, we might be seeing people twice a day just to make sure they're taking their medication, because often the case managers are the only support system that these individuals have. And if you go to the next slide. So we thought it would make sense to kind of give an example of how someone might move through the homeless response system. And so here's just an example. So here's an example about Peter. He's been homeless for 8 years. He suffered a traumatic brain injury, 68, widowed, so he doesn't have that family support. and is suffering from severe depression and PTSD. So our outreach team was able to get Peter to our shelter, which is run by United Way of Weld County. While he was staying in shelter, the coordinated entry team was able to refer him to be matched to a permanent supportive housing voucher. So our permanent supportive housing team was able to start working with Peter to get him into housing and then provide the supportive case management and give him access to taking care of his basic health, such as primary care physician, getting him matched to North Range, which is our behavioral health provider in Greeley, to help, sustain his housing. And so I saw a comment too about substance abuse. Yes, if someone is, ready to take that step in getting sober, we have had a lot of success once individuals are housed because now they have access to sobriety care, that they have been able to become sober and maintain being sober. So that's kind of the point of the wraparound case management. And this is just one of many people that we are able to work with. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Sue at the City of Fort Collins.
Hi, everybody. I had such trouble getting into this meeting, but I'm happy that I caught up in time. So thanks for this good discussion about how we can be of assistance to our unhoused residents. So the City of Fort Collins' primary response is out of my department, the Social Sustainability Department. And our mission is to support a diverse and equitable community that successfully meets the basic needs of all residents. And Brittany Depew is our lead person that works in this area, and she reports to Vanessa Fenley, our housing manager. And I'm in the same department and support as well, but those are the two primary staffers working on this work. So a little bit different than Greeley, we mostly fund, engage in partners, and align both internal and external services so that we can best serve this segment of our population. But we do very little direct service ourselves. Mostly we are funding our partner agencies and making sure that we're looking for gaps in the system. Next slide, please. So we provide about $1 million a year in grants to nonprofits so that they can do this work. That includes both direct allocations through our budget, which we make to the Continuum of Care that Alea's been talking about, to the HMIS data system that I think you also heard about before I was able to join the call, our Murphy Center, which is our one-stop shop for people that are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness, and our Outreach Fort Collins program. So I think Mandy really gave a great overview of why outreach is so important. And we have had it now for about, I think, maybe at least 5 years in our community. And we've expanded the service area because we've seen it to be very helpful, not only for our unhoused residents, but also for our business community and for just making sure that communication between all the different parties is positive. We also allocate, this year was about $270,000 through a competitive process every year to fund services for prevention of homelessness, supportive services, and sheltering. And in addition to that $1 million a year, sometimes we have money to invest, like our ARPA money or other things to help the system as well. And so we are planning to support the Fort Collins Rescue Mission's Homeless Resolution Center with additional funding. That would be on top of the $1 million. And our goal is to really look for gaps. What aren't our partners providing that our residents need? For instance, seasonal overflow shelter every year in the winter, we need to expand our shelter capacity in the winter to prevent deaths and to really give people a safe place to be. So the city has led that effort over, I would say, the last 12 to 13 years. And recently, we've been providing that in a city building for the winter months between April and November. We also know that the summer can be really devastating weather, and it can be really harmful to people who are unhoused. So we've started working on emergency weather plans for that as well. And that's our heat response. So in addition to our seasonal overflow shelter, that's for every night during the winter. Some nights are so bad that we have an increased need, and we have to even admit people whose behavior in the past has been a problem. And so we gear up for those nights, and we provide emergency shelter for everyone who needs it, even people who have maybe been banned from shelters. We provide security. We make sure that everybody has a safe place to be in those bitter winter nights. Next slide, please. But we do all of this really through partnerships, both internal and external. So in order to do that work, we staff, our staff is engaged in many boards of directors and other collaborative problem-solving groups. Some examples would be the Continuum of Care, of course, but also the Opioid Abatement Council and Outreach Fort Collins. A collaborative problem-solving group, an example of that would be the Murphy Center's Partner Council. And we also lead a rapid response team and policy advisory team internal. Mostly that's for internal staff, but we have external partners involved in that as well, because this is a group effort, really a team sport. Sometimes we have the opportunity to support new and innovative programs. Currently, there are several churches looking at doing safe lots. And so we've been talking to them about how we can help. There may be a little zoning change that's needed or something like that, that we can support on the city side, and we'd be happy to do that. It's so important to collaborate in this space. Clearly, no one entity can succeed, right? We need to partner, and we need to partner well, and we really try to do that. And then, there's so many different departments at the city that touch this issue and that engage with unhoused residents. We have park rangers, we have people in natural areas, we have a specific homeless response team in our police department. Of course, our transportation system often involves a lot of how come we went to the wrong slide, Alea? Sorry. We're on the partnership slide. So anyway, the transport, we know that our transit system often is a place where people go to rest or to get someplace, right? Both of those things. So we have so many people involved in this system that we meet regularly with this group to make sure that our policy and response is in alignment. And this includes things like camping enforcement that has a lot of tensions, right, between the different departments and the different missions of the department. So we have a lot of internal discussions to make sure that we can do things in alignment as much as possible. And then we also meet, of course, on a regular basis with our shelter operators, Fort Collins Rescue Mission, Catholic Charities, Family Housing Network. And all of this is done in a way to not only serve people while they're unhoused, but to really help them gain housing. And so in Fort Collins, we have two permanent supportive housing developments that are already built and that have been really helpful in providing the services that people need when they come in off the streets. That's Mason Place and Red Tail Ponds. And we also really work hard at trying to use CAPS systems and other ways to make sure that people that are in need of housing get that housing navigation and hopefully get into permanent housing and stay there. So it's a long journey, but we have help all along the way, and we see a lot of success. And I just want to say that things have really improved since we have the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. I don't know, Alea, how much you got into the prior system where we were part of the balance of state, and that really diluted what we were able to do locally. So having our own continuum of care has been super helpful in not only looking at this regionally, but also in achieving success for our cities, for our county, and also for our residents. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Sue. Sorry about the slide change. I don't know what happened. All right, and then I think we just have one last slide. Yeah, so as you heard, our system works. It's founded in data and best practices, and it is serving the people we need to serve well, but we don't have enough, right? Is the end of this. We need more support in any way we can find it. So if you want to support the COC, if you want to be part of the solution and this region-wide collaborative, please reach out. There's many, many ways to support. You can join a committee. You can become a member of the COC as an individual or as an organization to stay up to date on all the goings on across our region in this work. You can, if you are a property owner, you can reach out to my team at Larimer County and learn more about our housing partners of Larimer and landlord engagement. And then advocate for more resources to expand our homelessness response system as well. That contact at NoCoCoc.org is where you can reach out to learn more or ask how you can be involved. And I'll stop sharing now. And I think we ended almost exactly on time. So we can open it up to questions at this point. I could not see the chat at all while I was talking and presenting.
Well, thanks,
So-
Alea. I'm gonna just ask Karina, you had a question. Did your question get answered?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I think somewhere along the way it did. More just ask that because in Loveland in particular on Lincoln Street, there's, I'm sure you guys are aware of it, like the homeless problem on Lincoln Street in Loveland and the situation with it, like the tents by the railroad and then Kings Court Motel and the gas station across the street from it. The actual guy that runs it is a scammer. Now, I know all this because I had a friend that was near homelessness, and then I'm also work at the bank. And so many of the people have substance abuse issues that is kind of keeping them homeless. So I'm just wondering, like, with that outreach, how much of that, how much support is substance abuse treatment part of that?
So I can answer what we, in the city of Greeley, we have a mobile, like North Range has a mobile unit that will go out for substance abuse. But our case managers specifically, they're not trained to do that. So we would really be relying on our partners that are to connect them. But they do have a mobile unit that will go out into the community to help.
Thank you.
Sue, does the city of Fort Collins offer anything similar to that?
We have a couple of things. We have co-responders that are part of our police program that can be deployed to help with people that are in some kind of a mental health crisis. And also our outreach program, like Mandy, they don't have the services internal, but they certainly refer people and can get people to help quickly. And lastly, of course, the new Behavioral Health Center, Long Branch, has been very, very helpful to people who are experiencing substance issues.
Longview.
Longview. Did I say Long Branch? I always get that wrong.
Yeah, Longview is the Larimer County behavioral health facility in partnership with Summit Stone, and we do partner with the co-responder programs and others across Larimer County to help people who are experiencing those mental health crisis and substance use issues get help immediately.
Terrific. And Patty, you had a couple of questions, so I'm just going to ask you to unmute and fire away.
I'm getting there. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for hosting this today. I was interested because I have a homeless gentleman and a pet that I am supporting this year. And I've been in contact with the workforce to get him some documentation and, you know, ability to maybe get a job. So I was interested in everything that we're doing in the community because I didn't know about all of this. It's wonderful what our community is doing. So how do individuals get connected to these services? Or how could I get Matthew connected to services? Would be my first question.
I can take a stab at that. I'm not sure where your friend is located, but
He's in Fort Collins.
Yeah, the Murphy Center for Hope is a one-stop shop that can really help people understand what services are available and what might be right for them. So
Okay.
you can either go there in person, it's at the corner of Blue Spruce and Conover Street in North Fort Collins, or you can give them a call. And either way will get you at least started in the process of determining the best case management for your friend.
Oh, thank you. I'll take him up there. He has a bike and he has his dog. So, and then have you reviewed the various tiny home options that I've read about? I think there's a place in Denver that they're doing tiny home options, and I've seen some of it in some other states, I think.
I think we have a really collaborative and creative group region, right, in Northern Colorado, across Larimer and Weld, that are always looking at best practices and what's working. Tiny homes is relatively a newer approach to providing shelter. And it kind of gets sticky when you start to look at different jurisdictions and their rules around tiny homes and putting them in, and also just land availability too, to be honest. In Northern Colorado, you know, where could we put a village of tiny homes? We're also kind of on the cusp of having more beds in our region with, as Sue mentioned earlier, the rescue mission is hopefully going to be breaking ground this summer on their new 24/7 shelter and resource center. So I think we're always looking at those new ideas and trying to evaluate if it fits within our region. But yeah, great question.
And my last question is then, what is a safe lot?
So I'll start, Alea. You could jump in. Thank you for asking that question. We use this jargon a little and just kind of use shortcut language, but Safe Lot refers to programs that provide people that are sleeping in cars a place to do that. So usually when you're sleeping in a car, it is, you're not allowed to be there. You can be asked to move on, and it can be very disruptive. So these safe lots, often in church parking lots, provide people an authorized place to sleep in their car. They provide things like restrooms and other amenities that make it a lot more pleasant and also better for the whole community. And we've seen this in other places, and we're starting to look at some in Fort Collins. There's one in Loveland that's been very successful and has been in operation now for a while. And frankly, I think that's why some of the churches feel comfortable in Fort Collins looking at this, is because Loveland's operation has been so successful. And I'm not saying that sleeping in your car is good enough,
Right.
but if you are sleeping in your car, it's better to do it in a place that's safe for you and can provide services to you.
Right. Well, and Matthew has a friend that I've met, Jake, who sleeps in his car when he has gas to move around. So the other issue that I've run up against with him, the only shelter I found in Northern Colorado was in Loveland that would take pets. Because he has a big dog. She is like 130 pounds. She's really big. She's kind, but scary looking. So that was an issue when I was trying to help him find some place when it was cold out to be. Do we have any place in Fort Collins that allows pets?
We had a program that did provide people with pets some access to hotels, but I don't believe that was successful. And I think
Okay.
that they are no longer offering that.
Mhm.
So it is a problem for your friend and others because, you know, sometimes your pet is your family and,
Right.
you know, it's really difficult to be separated, even if it means safety for both of you.
Right. And my last question is, I've lived in Fort Collins since 1975, and we've had businesses come and go. And I drive by these empty buildings, wondering why can't they be utilized until they get them sold or something to get people off this, help people get off the street, especially during the really cold and really hot times. And I know it's a cost, and the people who own the buildings probably don't want strangers or homeless people in their buildings, but I just hate to see this empty space not being utilized.
It's really hard to make uses and places match, is what I've learned. It isn't as easy as it sounds, but during COVID, we did increase the use, like for instance, of the the what am I trying? Food bank. The food bank's location had some extra space that they were not using at the time, and we did use it for emergency
Oh, nice.
shelter. So sometimes we are looking for those kind of partnerships when needed. But you're right, you know, there's buildings in transition, but usually they're not vacant long, except for the Albertsons, and that's a different situation. And that is
Right,
hopefully going to be put into productive use pretty soon.
right. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you, Patty.
well,
Karina, you had another question.
no, I just wanted to
Yes.
say thank you for having this opportunity to learn about what's going on in our community today.
Great. Thanks, Patty.
Mm.
Karina?
Yeah, so in particular with Longview, because I don't work there or work for them, but I've had contact with them for two different people in my life and two very different outcomes with, you know, Longview and Summit Stone. Where, you know, both substance use issues. One was, you know, detoxed, rehab, sober living, now, you know, got housing. The other, they insisted on returning her to me after the detox. And then when the rehab called, they said, well, we can't, she has to come straight from the detox. So the second individual was showing signs of a disability and got disparate treatment. So I'm wondering, is there checks and balances to make sure things are being done ethically?
I, you know, I can't speak for that team. I do know that Larimer County has a contract with Summit Stone to run that facility. So if you have concerns and you want to talk about that offline, I could do some connecting outside of this meeting and we could talk through your concerns. But I do know that our internal Larimer County team is diligent at auditing and monitoring what Summit Stone is doing based on outcomes because that facility is funded with tax dollars that were raised by the voters of Larimer County. And so it is our fiscal responsibility to ensure that they're following through on the tasks that are assigned to them to use those tax dollars. So
I would be interested in a further conversation.
absolutely. If you'd like to reach out offline, we could talk through that.
And Karina, hopefully you're seeing on your screen contact information for everybody that you heard from today. So you'll be able to reach out to them directly if you have further questions and concerns.
Okay.
At this point, we are just about out of time, and I want to thank you all for participating today, and especially I want to thank our presenters today for taking time out of your busy schedules, because obviously what you're doing is very important for our community, and appreciate your sharing your expertise. A lot more information that you guys have that we didn't get to today, but hopefully we'll be able to again present more information to everybody that has registered and continue to this dialogue to address the problem in our community. So with that, thank you all. And once again, we did record today's meeting and it will be posted up on the NoCo Housing Now website. And next week, you'll be receiving an email from the Fort Collins Chamber that will provide you a link to this information as well as a copy of the slides. Because again, some of those slides were a little hard to read or maybe some people like me, a little harder to read some of those. So you'll actually be able to download those the slides, so the slide presentation that you saw, and you'll be able to expand it, share it with others, and again, hope that you remain engaged in this conversation. And thank you all for taking your time. And again, one more shout out to our sponsors that you'll see up on the screen. And we will look forward to seeing you all in September when we have a half-day summit that we're putting together to explore this and other issues relative to housing. So with that, I will thank you all and wish you a very happy weekend.
Thanks, Joe.